Right, so what do we do today? Or welcome to the stream, I guess I should say. I think this page is pretty much done when it comes to the grammar snippets in it. I don't see much that could be simplified further. So maybe it's time to look at all the other pages and see what mess they are.
It looks really good. It looks so much cleaner.
Compare it to what's there currently. So there's file input, new line statement, and here it's more statements and marker. Looks very different. Interactive output is a statement list new line or a compound statement new line. And here we have basically the same thing, except statement list is expanded, the semicolon, and then we have the end marker here. And expression has the expression list expanded. It can be new lines there, and then there's the end marker, which I guess belongs there. So this is good. Please, I saw you sent a pull request. Let's look at that maybe. Add a note at the beginning of each chapter with the link to the notations section. This looks reasonable. I guess the main thing about it would be to actually document the new notation in this notation section. And do we already?
There was one spot. Yeah, there was one spot where it might be redundant, where you had the original syntax note, and I didn't remove it because I wasn't sure if it had a special reason for being where it was.
Which one was that? That would be the lexical one?
Lexical, yeah.
It's okay, maybe. Where was that?
It was yeah, it wasn't a restructured text admonition. It was more of just you did a bold.
Oh, hit this one.
There, that thing, yeah. Expression, sorry.
Yeah, I think this is redundant, and we should just have the note you added.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Expressions. Let's see. But when removing it, all the information should go into the introduction actually. So let's see if
I can make that change right now.
So if one alternative of the syntax rule is just to rename and no semantics are given, then those semantics are the same. I don't know if that happens a lot. but I guess it'll happen in the simple statements maybe. Yeah, I guess that's for this, like where it says simple statement can be a yield statement, then it doesn't go further to say, you know, when it is a yield statement, it has the semantics of a yield statement. But that doesn't look too important. But maybe the note should be added to the notation.
To the notation piece. Yeah. Okay. I'll work that in there. A little bit further down. Yeah.
Right, so what is there to add here? Nothing. Everything's perfect. And we can move on to the more complex stuff. Right, let's do that. So, here's compound statements. And whenever there's a production list, we should instead add whatever we have at the top level. That's the name. Grammar snippet. Okay, so grammar snippet for compound statement. And let's see. So when I save this and run it, what will happen? Do the giant, add the grammar snippet, which is great. But let's make sure it works even with one new line here. Yeah, that's what I thought. So there's one more thing to do in the script. Let me revert this. So there's one more thing to do in the script, and that is if as I said before, I don't like files that combine handwritten and machine-written code. So if I do this, the tool looks for grammar snippets and then for 2 blank lines. So it will remove whatever's below it, which could be a paragraph. So I guess the solution is to stop ignoring stuff when it's no longer indented. Let's do that. So that would be the first part of this script. It will ignore 2 indented blocks. And I wonder if it should just ignore everything that's indented. That would make things much simpler. So for simplicity, we don't deal with indented rules here, so I can't have this and some indented block, which is fine for all of the docs, so it should be fine in the future as well. And then I guess whenever the line starts with white space, it should be replaced with all the new stuff. So I don't ignore 2 blocks, but I ignore all indented lines. That should do it. So I'll start up not ignoring anything. Whenever whenever I'm ignoring lines, I continue ignoring them until the line starts with white space, which I guess is just a space or a tab. So if I'm ignoring lines and the line is no longer indented, I stop ignoring stuff. And if I'm not ignoring, I append the line to my list of lines. Now if the line matches my header regular expression, I start ignoring stuff and generate the contents I need. So that should do it. Right, so grammar snippet here was expanded with a bunch of stuff, and then it ended before the rest of the file. Looks good. But oh, there's one more thing. Blank lines are indented. I need to save my change. Alright, so this made a grammar snippet with everything I wanted, stopped where it should have stopped, and didn't change any of the other files, so this is correct. I just need to deal with this line, that's too long. And now for the compound statement. So I need to build the documentation with this changed. Ooh, and I see it inlined a lot of stuff. Duplicate token description of compound statement. Other reference in compound statements. Ah, this is interesting. So apparently the tool is now too complete and adds stuff to this Python grammar group. And Sphinx doesn't like when there are two definitions of something in Python grammar. So let's name this Python grammar old and hope that's enough. That'll probably break some cross links. Okay, it looks like with item is also referenced somewhere else. And I will actually add that to future top level rules here. I'm saying that I will document this in the future and it shouldn't appear here. And I think there'll be a lot of these. Maybe it'll be everything we come across in this compound statement. There's maybe star pattern. Oh dear. I wonder if there's a better way. I don't think I'll need to do this very often. Is that it? Great. Right. So, how does our compound statement look? It looks extremely messy. So, compound statement, maybe I want to look in the actual grammar for how compound statement looks. So that's a function definition, if statement, class with for try while match. And apparently the function definition got inlined here, and the function definition rule is extremely complicated. And I probably don't want to have that in the compound statements here. So let me take function def and say that it should be documented somewhere in the future. Somewhere else, just not here. So now we have function def here. The next thing then it can be is if statement, which of course got inlined in here as well. And if is also extremely complicated, so let's have it documented somewhere else. And I think it'll be the same with class, but maybe it didn't get inlined. We'll see. Well, even if it didn't get inlined, it's needs to be documented somewhere else, not directly within the compound statement. So let's just add all of these. And now it's simple. Compound statement is optional. Wait, that's interesting. Optional. One of these, and I wonder why it is optional. That doesn't really make much sense. Let me turn on the debugging. Debugging output, which is horrible. Again, we have a file that's generated both by hand and by machine, and that clashes. Wait, what? Something is wrong here. Something is very wrong here. Compound statement from PEGen. Maybe this colon here is making it angry. Nope. Something's wrong, it just stops. I guess the debug output isn't that helpful. If Sphinx doesn't know, if Sphinx can't use it. What can I do about that? Maybe wrapper will work better. So that will work like this. So it's rule blah 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 blah. Oh, there's the invalid compound statement. Alright, I see. So that might be That might be a bug actually in the script. This looks better. So the problem here is that this is functional, and part of the problem is because there's an invalid compound statement which might be reduced to nothing, but if there's a choice with nothing in it, it makes the or if there's an alternative with nothing, it makes the whole choice optional because you can choose that nothing. But the problem with these invalid rules is that they should be removed entirely and not reduced into empty string, pretty much.
Oh, I see. So the bug is in generate.py.
Yeah, the bug is probably in the generator,
Okay.
if it's there. That,
Okay.
so where do we do this invalid rules? Right. So when we simplify an item, and this is simplify item from choice. Right, when it's an invalid rule, we return the empty sequence. So that's the problem. And here I guess we can return none and handle that when wherever we call simplify item. Right, so if simplify item returns none, we do nothing.
Okay.
And
Sweet.
let's see how that changes things. Great, so now we just have a choice here. It's not optional anymore. Most of these are links to the old documentation, but I don't think the old documentation has a rule called function def. It's probably, yeah, it's named funcdef, so we don't get a link there, but otherwise it is as it should be. But now that we changed the algorithm, let's look at the top level rules and see if anything changed here. Doesn't look like that. Yeah, looks like everything's in order here. So let's turn debug off. Right, so compound statement is function of blah 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 blah. And now the docs here also document a suite and a statement list, which I guess we might need it in this this suite, whatever it's called in the new docs. We probably don't need statement, or we might need it for this. Let's see what, for example, with statement looks like in the new grammar. So that's with blah 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 colon, and then there's a block. So I guess block is something we need to document document instead of the suite. Hopefully it's just a simple rename. Before that, let's put this in Git. do is, well, document compound statement and block. Right. That added this nice little rule here. So a block is new line, indent, statements, and a dedent. Or
Nice.
it can be simple statements separated by semicolons, which is pretty much the same thing as here, except this has statement plus, and I don't think... Oh, statement list. Right, statement list is the semicolon separated stuff, so that's exactly the same thing. And statement plus is this one, right? So it's in the opposite order, but that's fine. So this is exactly as it should look, except when there's a choice at the top level and the line's too long, we probably want to break it up. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
So people don't have to scroll.
So how do we do that? So this is printed.
Although, I guess the alternative is if we're forcing a line break because of the formatting constraints of that particular output, is it are we being a bit brittle? In other words, would it look weird if it was at a different... I don't know if there's... I just wonder if that's a consideration.
No, I think... so I guess we want to match this.
Yes, that's true.
And this is, of course, formatted by humans. So.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We don't have that much intelligence, but it looks like... yeah, if the line is too long, in some sense, it gets broken up and it looks like this.
Well, I guess that's not bad because it scans nicely because there's one line per node or per yeah.
It does scan nicely, and I don't know if I would want to do it for these as well. I mean, why not?
Yeah, kind of, huh?
Yeah. I mean, this one is a bit longer because it inlines this statement list. Oops, no clicking. Because this inlines this statement list, so I probably want to break that one as well. And I guess the only reason to not break would be if it's extremely short, like, well...
Yeah, if it's just one node or one option.
This long? If it's one option, it wouldn't be a choice. Okay, so if there's a choice at the top level, and the representation is longer than... Oh, how long is this? Characters, then let's split it up. Right, that would probably go in generate line rules wherever we actually yield the line. I don't think it's it needs to be put in format, because then format would need to take an argument saying this is the very top level, I would just complicate things. So let's do this. So this would be the right hand side line, and if the node is a choice,
Oh, right, it's called choice. Okay.
and this thing is bigger than 40 characters, then we present each alternative on its own line.
Beautiful.
Else do that. So how do we do this? I want to enumerate the alternatives in the choice, which means just iterate over the choice to get its children. Because if we're at the first line, then we want to yield this name. Otherwise, we don't yield that name. And let me see how that's formatted. Right, we need this colon, and then the pipe character. So there needs to be some indentation, probably not a lot, but let's make it line up at least here. Let's do it like that. Now pep8 says never do this, but I think it's readable in this case. Right? So if the line number is 0, I do that. I could write this as if not line number, but that doesn't strike me as being that readable. So maybe somebody will call this out in the review and say, follow pep8. Right, this looks better. Maybe there's one more thing we could do, which is follow this grammar specification, where if things are broken between multiple lines, then the first line is empty and then everything starts with a pipe. So things line up nicely and it looks a bit more like Python blocks.
Right.
Right? Which we don't do here, and well, Sphinx also insists on using this operator, which I guess is used in formal grammars, but it just looks weird. And Guido commented on this and said, let Sphinx be Sphinx. So we'll keep it.
Yeah, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it makes things easier to start this way. And then we don't need the line number at all. We just yield each option like this, and I hope Sphinx will let us keep the first empty line. Does that look better?
I think so.
It would be even better if this was below this operator or just indented a little bit. But I don't think Sphinx lets us do that, unfortunately. We could, of course, make a better Sphinx extension, but that's...
Yeah, I was just thinking that, but that's a whole nother...
Not for the first pull request.
Really?
I guess this is... okay.
Actually, it's kind of... It scans rather nicely, actually, with a little empty space.
Yeah, I mean,
in other words,
still not as good at this.
Well, okay.
But yeah, it's a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with this. Looks good. So we got everything. This compound statements has a bunch more rules because it has async stuff. Got the suite, that's the block, and this is inline. So let's remove this production list and move on. So we want to document the if statement now, and that's the correct rule. And yeah, we don't need to make this old Python grammar. Right, so if statement. If named expression colon block, then we can have elif statement or an optional else block. A named expression, I guess, will be documented elsewhere. Is it used anywhere else? Yeah, it's used all over the place. Well, not really. It's used in subject expression, start named expression. Yeah, so it will be documented somewhere else. And I guess it's the same as this assignment expression here. So let's put that in the future top level rules. So that'll disappear. Then we have elif statement. That looks exactly the same as if, except it has an elif. That's great. An else block is nice and simple. Previously, this was all inlined, actually. But to inline it, we would need to convert recursion to iteration. And
oh.
And I'm not sure I would be able to do that, actually. I'm sure there's some theoretical trick for doing that. But yeah, this one looks does look much nicer, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now we use the word sweet there in that description.
Right.
Didn't we move?
The old one
Yeah, didn't
calls
we
it
change?
sweet. The
Okay.
actual grammar
Oh,
calls
block.
it
Oh,
block
okay.
now.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it's exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Good. Good. Yeah.
I don't know if the prose. Oh, the prose actually talks about a suite. So what I'm doing right now is I want to make sure the actual grammar is presentable, and then I want to send this as a series of pull requests, starting with I guess the top level components, but with a full pass through the whole page, reading all the prose and making sure that is correct.
Okay.
But let's not do that now. It would be very nice to simplify this. Let's see how this looks in the grammar itself. So we actually simplified this common start, and then we're left with elif statement or else block. So how to do this? So I guess the trick is, if there's a choice between the rule we are currently in and something else, then whatever comes before is effectively iterated. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Right. That will not be easy to turn into code. Let's pull up a little node editor. So we turn this into iterating that, followed by an optional else block, right?
Oh, okay.
If we manage to do that, we end up with elif statement only appearing once in this set of rules, which will inline it. After that, this choice will have the wait. Oh, this is not star. This should be plus. There's at least one.
Okay.
But
That's like a choice within a choice. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Now this is iterated, and this one is a choice. But the next simplification is this else optional else block is in both cases here. So this turns into a choice with something and nothing, which makes it well. Right. Next step is when there's an alternative with nothing in it, that makes the entire gets rid of the alternative and makes the entire choice optional. And the next simplification step will turn an optional plus into a star, right? And of course, else block only appears once, so that'll get inlined. And ideally, the next step would be formatting this nicely. And the result is the same as before, right? With a few renames.
I really appreciate this trick that you do of having little examples of each step.
Well, it helps me as well. Thanks.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it looks like this would be a good simplification to make. But how to do it? Good simplification to make, but quite complicated. So what I'm tempted to do is to leave it for later and sleep on it. So I want to simplify this into
yeah.
And let's leave it at that for now. Because if I leave it, I'll have one more week to think about it in the shower, and
yeah, exactly.
That is surprisingly effective. And we might also find more cases where a thing like this might be needed. So let's do that. And I'll keep the old production list in here, so that well, like as a kind of marker that it's not done. And let's go on to the while statement. So that's this needs to be old Python grammar, and we want to document the while statement. Is it called while statement? Yeah. Is linked, so it is called while statement, and that gave us while named expression colon block else suite, right? And it would be nice to break it up, but I don't know how to do that automatically. Maybe there is some kind of line breaking algorithm brewing in these examples. Like we say that this is too complicated and too long somehow. Where is the best place to break this? And of course the best place to break this would be before a final optional part. Here and here as well. So that's like a line breaking algorithm from typesetting, or even math equation typesetting. Which is surprisingly tricky, but it might work. I guess another option would be to allow the author to say, break before before the symbol or something like that. Right? Let the human author tune the representation. That might work as well. Definitely need more examples though. So this looks correct. Let's move on to the for statement. So for statement. This is now old grammar. Yeah, this looks complicated now. Okay, the for statement can have an optional async for targets in expression, and then it has this and an else block. So let's see how that looks in the actual grammar. For statement, right? So it's for star targets in star expressions, block else block, or it's async, same as above. Right, so we already have a simplification that takes this common tail and takes it out of the option of the choice, and that leaves a choice with one empty option and one async. It turns that into optional async, which is great. We probably don't want to document star target in here, so let's leave that for later. See, this target list is also documented somewhere else. And now the difference here is that we have this comma separated list of targets, well, star targets, which is named target list in here. Let's see. Oh, this has star expressions. And are star expressions used anywhere else? Oh, they're also used in yield expression. So maybe let's take that as the thing that's documented somewhere else. Oh no, I took the wrong thing. Star targets, not star expressions. Star targets, star expressions is already in here. Right. Right, so what do we have here now? This is weird. What caused that to happen? Oh, there's an optional type comment. The type comment got replaced by nothing, but there's still an optional nothing. Let's simplify that out. So that would be in optional, and I guess optional one or more or zero or more if either of them have nothing inside, then they become nothing themselves, right? So we can go to the superclass, define simplify here, and oh, we already have simplify, sorry. If we have an empty sequence, then we return that empty sequence. Right. Remove the outer decorator. Did that not work? Oh, Sphinx is maybe just slow. There we go. Right, so removed empty nothing. So there are now two differences. One is this async, and I think we should handle that in prose, and say, in the prose, say async is handled later, because what this does is there's another async for section, which defines async for as async and for statements. So we can remove this definition here and say that if a for has async in front of it, it has these differences. I think that would be fine. We can leave it like that. Of course, it would be also good here to break before the else, and that's becoming a recurring theme. You do always want to break the line before else. Otherwise, this looks good. Let's put the new simplification in Git. Just commenting on the changes to the algorithm, not on whatever I'm adding to the docs.
I see. So, so you're using Nano on for the console?
Oh, for the Git commit message, yes.
Yes, I see. Okay.
I think it's the default for Git.
Yeah, yeah, I see now. It was okay.
So what's next here? Try statement. Ooh, I'm pretty sure the actual grammar doesn't look like that.
Wow. Yeah, really.
So this would be old, and do we even have a try statement? Yes, we do. So this is quite complicated now. So let's see. Try statement begins with a tricolon block, and then it can have a finally block, or more except blocks, an else, and a finally, or except stars, else, and finally. Where I guess except star block plus. Oh, you can't combine except and except star blocks in one try. Interesting. Didn't know that. But well, this makes it a complete mess. So this is tricolon block, and then we have a finally block, or the except block was inlined in here. We don't want that.
Oh my god.
Oh, it was inlined and simplified too, right? This this else and finally got taken out on one side for the last two lines, and these three got taken out for all of them. So it's looking very confusing. But what we could do is say that accept block should be documented on its own, and the same with accept star block. And I hope that will break things up a little. Right, so this is try block. Then we have one of these. And these two can have an also and a finally. Which is not great. Yeah, so making this, I guess this is the most readable way to write this. But how do we tell the simplification algorithm that it's that way? So this isn't bad either. So maybe there should be a way to tell the generator to not break up the top level structure. And keep this as three separate choices, each on its own line. And maybe documenting this else block with if might also make sense. So where do we have if? If already documents an else block. So that'll put in an else block, which is here. Everybody understands that. Okay, so this looks quite complicated also, and I will put that in this growing to-do list. So this would be don't simplify this, and instead keep three separate alternatives. Yeah, the simplification went a bit overboard here. But that's for later. Let's try to find more examples of what we should do before committing too much time to one. With statement is next. Let me open another tab to check if we have with. Yeah, we have with. So next up is with or while. That was try. Oh, I'm at the wrong place. The with statement will need grammar snippet for with statement, and I guess that'll be a beast as well. Oh boy, so what does with statement look in the grammar spec? It's with complex thing or with slightly less complex thing or the async variance above. So this will yeah, so this is either with or async with, and then either the this thing in parentheses or not in parentheses, and it's the 4 variants of that. And our simplification simplified that into an optional async and the 2 alternatives here, and yeah, kept the common end here. Welcome back.
Okay. Oh yeah, I just had a call on the other line.
So I don't know what you missed, but I basically left this for later.
Yes. I remember that part. Yeah, because it was. Yeah.
Okay, and now we have the with statement,
Right.
which looks like this. And from this, you can't really see that it's either with or async with, and then it's either parentheses or no parentheses, and then the rest is always the same. The good news is that the simplification works, right? There's optional async, then there's either with either parentheses or not, and then the rest is the same. The bad news is there's too many parentheses in here.
Would we want to break it at the choice? At the pipe?
Probably so. Let's put this in the notepad here. So maybe it wouldn't want to be broken like this.
Oh, I see.
Right, we have async with. Then there's this. And I think the main problem with readability here is these quotes and parentheses. Right. If we had some other kind of parentheses here, it would be a bit better. Well, when you look into this thing, it's pretty much the same, right? The difference here is there's a space after this opening parentheses, which makes it a bit easier. Then there's with statement contents, and I guess we can't really well, they're not inlined, so we can't do much with that. So there's this, that's called with statement context, but we do use gather for it, so it's a bit more compact.
Should with statement contents be a future?
No, that's only in the old syntax. That doesn't appear here.
I see.
It's spelled out here. One thing we might want is to find new syntax for gather with an optional separator at the end.
Oh.
So this appears a lot, and it might be worth it to find syntax for it, but that'll also appear elsewhere. And then yeah, this thing that's either parenthesized or not also appears, also probably will appear quite a lot, and I don't know about any good syntax for it. It looks pretty bad in Railroad diagrams as well, because you need to repeat the insides here. I mean, there's also an optional comma here, but that's the detail. So I think aside from the line breaking, this does look horrible, but can't really improve on it. And as for the line breaking, let's put that in the notes. Because this is a much better example than before. Alright, so if the line is too long, find I guess find a complex item in it and break around that.
Yeah.
Or maybe find the thing that has else and break around that. I guess we'll do a line breaking pass later. Alright, so that was with now match statement. Oh, this will be fun. Do we even have match? Yeah, we do. Okay, so match is next. I didn't copy this header. Let's put this in the notes so I can copy it from here. So grammar snippet for match statement. This becomes old grammar. Oh, this is it. Oh, fun. Okay. Did Sphinx choke at this? Of course it did. So we documented shift expression, which of course we shouldn't do for the match statement. Next. I see we're also documented bitwise OR. We shouldn't do that. But I won't rebuild with that just now. So what's happening here? Match. Let's look how match statement appears in the grammar. So it's match, subject expression, colon, new line, indent, case block, dedent. And I guess the problem here is too much inlining, which we can control. So the subject expression is a pretty good name, and we want to keep that in the docs. So let's say we want it here. And this case block is probably also not a good thing to indent. One. Okay, so match statement now becomes match subject expression colon new line inline case block dedent. So this thing is basically a block or a suite, except instead of statements it has case blocks. So we managed to get a match statement looking exactly as in the actual grammar, which is good in this case. So subject expression has two choices: star named expression, comma star named expressions, or named expression. So that became star named expression, comma
I'll be right back.
star named expressions optional, and I guess star named expressions then are exactly this, gathering star named expressions with that optional comma at the end. And I guess this can be simplified. So this, if I write out the gather thing here, that becomes star named expression. Oh, hello. Didn't miss me.
Yes.
So we
No.
have this abomination here. So there's some kind of expression, a comma, and then optional more star named expressions separated by comma, and an optional comma at the end. What? So I guess the question is, how is it different between an ordinary gather? And I guess the difference is there needs to be a comma in here. If there's no comma, this wouldn't match. Right, so let's try to simplify this. I can rewrite this gather into star named expression, and then this repeated. Yeah, the comma is always optional. There needs to be a comma in here. So how could this be simplified? We could say that this is either a star named expression with a comma, or right, so I'm not making this any better. So I guess this can't really be simplified, and it's also the same thing in the handwritten grammar. So I probably can't make this any simpler, except if we say we don't want to inline star-named expressions, which this doesn't inline. If we say we want those in this piece of docs as well. Oh, I see, they're documented in the match statement itself. Right, so they should be documented there. Oh no, that's, sorry. Where's star-named expression documented in the old grammar? It's not. What? So if I look at the match statement here, oh, it's not documented at all in the old grammar. You're just supposed to know what this means. And that's never stopped anybody from using the match statement, so it's fine. But we should probably define it in this way. Right, and then after so this is the best we can do. Star-named expression is star-named expressions are documented here. A star-named expression says it's a bitwise or named expression, and bitwise or will be documented somewhere else. Named expression as well. So let's look at the case block now, which is pretty long. So case block, here's patterns, and patterns is patterns like, oh, patterns is documented somewhere else. So let's put that in here. And what's the rest? Patterns, guard, and block. And those are all nice words. So we probably also want to not expand or not inline guard. So the old docs also have guard here, and it's documented a bit down. Okay, so case block is now case, patterns, guard, block. Exactly as in the old grammar. That's great. So this now looks as the thing it's replacing, except it actually has all the information. And I hope star-named expression doesn't appear anywhere else. Right. So that's the match statement, and I think I can now remove this block because we're done with this. This is fine. This is as it should be. And go on to the next one, which would be the guard. So guard is just if named expression. Well, let's see if that's actually the case in the actual grammar as well. Yep, same thing. That was simple.
Right. Oh, nice. Okay.
Right. Next up, there's irrefutable case blocks, patterns. Patterns look a bit more interesting. So let's see what patterns look like on their own. Oh, maybe star pattern.
It's not too bad.
Pattern.
Yeah.
And that's I guess this open sequence pattern got got inlined, which we probably don't want. Open sequence pattern sounds like a good name, but we also want to document this pattern here. I think the reason it didn't get documented is because it's one of our future top level rules. So let's make it a current top level rule. And I wonder if this open sequence pattern is actually documented somewhere. Oh, it is somewhere else. Okay. So open sequence pattern. Let's leave that one for later. Oh, and we've already documented guard. So there's one file I don't want to save when I'm saving all at once. So atter. Let's see what that became. Oh, okay, that exploded. So pattern should be an as pattern or pattern. Let's see what that looks like in the grammar. Pattern is as pattern or pattern. And those two come on. So this documents closed pattern, but doesn't really. Oh, or pattern is then documented as closed pattern. Okay, is it the same thing here? Yes. Okay, so the match statement is quite new, so I guess
Yes.
the docs still match what the actual grammar is. Right, so we can add these as pattern and or pattern to our top level rules, or I can just put them in here directly. They're documented in the sections just below. Let's see how that works. Probably give some kind of error. Yeah, this is still giving us a closed pattern here with signed numbers and stuff like that. We probably want to document all of these eventually. Right, so I need to let's look at the simple ones here. So or pattern, just looking at the source, is exactly the same as the old one, except it's a different quoting choice. So I'll call that one done. As pattern looks almost the same, but it has name here instead of capture pattern. So let's not call that done yet. Then we have literal pattern, and we probably want to put in a grammar snippet for all of these so that the generator picks them up and gives us this list of things that are defined later. Right, literal pattern, capture pattern, and so on. Let's do that. Let's put that here. Capture pattern is documented here. That one will be interesting. Wildcard pattern, value pattern, sequence pattern. Mapping pattern. There's a lot of patterns in Python.
Oh, I see how this works. Okay.
Class pattern. And we just want to keep them from being inlined at the top. Oops. And then I'm adding this old here so that Sphinx doesn't warn about duplicate definitions. And there's still a duplicate definition for adder. Well, let's keep that in this list for now. And Sphinx needs to rebuild everything after error. F string replacement field. Oh my. I'll need to document that at one point as well. Okay, there we go. Alright. So, this looks perfect. Open sequence pattern or pattern. Open sequence pattern. Was that documented? Right, it was documented somewhere.
Open sequence pattern. Okay.
Right.
Maybe start.
So it should be documented together with sequence pattern. Let's look at that later. Oh, do we have sequence patterns? What's that? That's 8648. Sequence patterns. So open sequence pattern needs to go in here, and I probably added it to do this, which I don't want to do, but I want to explicitly put it in sequence pattern. Oop, already have that in the clipboard. Right, maybe sequence pattern should be here as well. Alright, so let's go back to patterns. This is now exactly the same as before, except one more link. I probably broke this link right now. This looks good. Literal capture wildcard, value, group, sequence mapping class. So let me go back and remove the old thing. This is now done. Or, of course, it's same as before. Now, as patterns, we probably want to this capture pattern to be documented somewhere. Oh, it's capture patterns. Okay, missed that. Capture pattern is name. Oh, I guess it doesn't. Oh, there's pattern capture target. And pattern capture target is a name, but it can't be an underscore. So, so I guess I should. Does capture pattern actually appear? Oh, capture pattern is the same as pattern capture target. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess the thing is, this should go into capture patterns as well. And now it says pattern capture target is name. Well, we'll get to that. So, as pattern is now defined as or pattern as pattern capture target, which is pretty much the same as here with the rename. So I will call that done. Remove the old one. And then we go to literal patterns, which look a bit simpler in the actual grammar, except for strings. So originally the literal pattern was a side number, or side number plus another number, or side number minus another number, or it was strings, or non-true false, or side number. What is this? Oh, this is, I guess this is a syntax error in the docs. Somebody was probably rewriting the grammar by hand, and I'm pretty sure it should be like this. Maybe we will even find the sign number. Yeah.
Number.
We'll even find it in the actual number, so we can in the actual grammar, so we can document it here. Yeah. Sign number. Then I guess this doesn't use side number, and this is inlined. Let's look how literal pattern looks. So literal pattern. It's a sign number or a complex number. That's a good name though. Let's use that name in the docs.
Yeah.
So people don't have to decode it. Oop, what's the matter? Sphinx is just slow. Okay. So cool. It can be sign number, complex number, and we can see that complex number is just sign number with plus or minus number, and this is a good thing to have, named stuff. Strings. Yeah, so this is a syntax, syntax for a string, literal in Python. It's grown very complex, but let's say strings is a much better name, and we will worry about that later. Right, nice. Okay, now it's better than before, I would say. Complex number having a name is nice. This thing could be replaced by sign number, but it lines up nicely so people will know it's the same. Let's ship it. Right, next up, capture patterns. So capture pattern is a pattern capture target, and a pattern capture target is a name. Where does capture pattern appear? Right, it's one of these, and it only appears once. So let's do this trick for capture patterns. Let's only document pattern capture target, and hope that whatever uses capture pattern will have that inlined. Right. So now if I scroll back up to, well, match statement. No, this was patterns. Patterns. Now this says pattern capture target instead of capture pattern, which is fine, and the link will take you here. And this is the one place where we should have this negative look ahead, right? Pattern capture target is a name, but it cannot be an underscore. But since it's the one place in the grammar that does this, I would just document it in the prose, right?
Okay.
Maybe well, let's do that now. A single underscore is not a capture pattern, and we just remove this. This is what the negative look ahead expresses, right?
Yeah. I don't really use the negative look ahead.
I think this is the one place it appears in the docs.
Okay.
Except for the full grammar specification. Oh, is it here? Oh, yeah, it's here. And I guess it appears in a bunch of other places too. Yeah. Oh, this assigned number cannot be followed by plus or minus because that's reserved for a complex number. Interesting. That's just an optimization though. Here it's actually important. So we might want to, so if we add some kind of customization, we might want to allow showing the negative look ahead for this one case. But until we do that, let's let it sleep. Targets and the new grammar. Next up, wildcard pattern. That's a simple case. So done. Value pattern. So a value pattern is an adder and I guess we should document adder as well. I probably added it to the big list here, and it should be there now. Will Sphinx complain? Yes. So there's some other instance wanting it, and we want to document it here. So this looks like a good case of inlining. Name or adder is just adder or a name, so that's a useless name to have in the docs. This is pretty clear. Group patterns. This is exactly the same as before, except for quoting choice. So that's great. Now sequence pattern. So sequence pattern, so this lines up much more nicely, right? So you can see this is just parenthesized something. This is just visually confusing. Open sequence pattern is We already talked about this one. So this is the same as in the old docs. This is the same as in the old docs. Plus we actually say what maybe star pattern is. No, we don't. Maybe star pattern should be documented in here. Where is maybe start pattern used? As an open sequence pattern and maybe sequence pattern, both are here. So I hope that can appear there just by removing it from the top level to-do list. There we go. So maybe star pattern is now so this is star pattern or pattern, and star pattern got inlined here, which it doesn't really need. So let's say that shouldn't be inlined either. And maybe the star pattern should be last, which means I need to put more stuff in here to force the ordering. Which makes for a very long line, but I guess if it only appears once, it's fine. Okay, so we have sequence pattern formatted nicely. Open sequence pattern, exactly the same thing. Maybe sequence pattern. I don't know. Do you think this question mark is better than always putting it in square brackets?
Kind of regexy. I don't know. I wouldn't know what it means, but then again, I'm not a grammar geek. So
well, somebody made this choice, so maybe it reads better.
Oh, really?
Well, this is the handwritten one, right? So
I don't know what the question mark does there.
It's the same thing. It's optional.
Okay.
And I guess it would be in here, so no, actually.
Oh, I see. A star, vertical bar, plus.
It's not documented here. But I think the full grammar specification uses this, so there's a choice. You can either use question mark or the square brackets. Are those somewhere? Yeah. And maybe they use the question mark for like single tokens.
Oh,
this is
that could be
single token, and this is I guess more visual clutter or something like that. But to be honest, I prefer having the same syntax everywhere. This just looks like it's something different. So yeah, that's the only difference here. Except quoting choice. Here star pattern, it's exactly the same. Here is it's exactly the same. So we're done here. Next up, mapping patterns. So this is again a mess because too much stuff got inlined. Let's see what mapping pattern should look like. Oh, this starts and ends with the same kind of symbol here, which according to our rules, you know, the symbol is taking out, and this is no longer a top level choice, so it doesn't get broken into individual lines, right? So I kind of like this extra rule here that says items pattern is key value pattern. Wait, what? double star pattern, items pattern. So this. Oh, there's double star pattern here. Items pattern, double star pattern, items pattern. How does this key value pattern? Oh, I see what's going on. This is simplified. This says you can use either a literal pattern or a value pattern. Well, that's fine. You can use either this thing or a double star pattern. And you know, you separate those by commas. But the actual grammar says you can either use double star pattern or items pattern followed by double star pattern, or items pattern itself. You cannot have double star pattern and items pattern in the opposite order, or like
that's
one
right,
the other,
orders.
one the other, and so on. The double star pattern needs to be at the end, which this doesn't really say. Right, and I guess there only can be one of those as well. So this syntax is more complicated. It should, of course, be simpler. Let's make it simpler. It's like this double star pattern and items pattern should not be inlined. Where are we? Mapping patterns. Items pattern, double star pattern. There. Okay, now it's a bit more easy on the eyes, but still quite complex. Right, so this item pattern is now a gather of a bunch of things, and that's thing inside the gather should probably have its own name. So that's called a key value pattern. There we go. Okay, a key value pattern. Well, that's
kind of cool.
That's better. And a key value pattern has this literal expression, which that's this thing, and I very much hope a literal expression will be somewhere in expressions. So let's say that to the generator. Keep that for the future. Okay, now except for this mapping pattern thingy, this is now presentable, and this now needs to say, so this is now simpler than what we had here, because now we only have two choices pretty much, right? This can definitely be simplified. So this big thing is a choice that is an optional double star pattern, or this items pattern followed by that double star pattern, what we could do here is notice that one of the choices here is optional. Make it non-optional and make the whole choice optional. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This
Yes,
if
actually
this
does.
whole thing can be nothing, then and then the whole choice can be optional, and that will be the last thing today. Unless well, let's do this first. The git diff is now pretty big.
Yeah.
And we didn't really change the generator itself that much. It's just some notes and that list. So let me commit that. Add more directives to the statement docs, and let's have a clean git state for optimizations. Oh, weren't we going to rework this simplification here? With simplify subsequence, we need to get back to that again. But here, if we have an optional,
Okay.
Optional something, then we say we are optional and we append that something. Hopefully that will work. Oh, right, so it needs to be a list. And now the diff is rather big, so I probably want to look at that one, but it did simplify this. Right, so optional choice, and now even the trailing optional trailing comma got out of there. This you remember what it was? Let's look at the diff. Let's look at the diff here. So an if statement, we managed to simplify this into that.
Oh, right.
Which
Okay.
is nice, right? So you can either
Yeah,
have an
it
elif
is.
or an else. Same thing for elif, of course. The same here. Now for the mapping pattern, that's what we're looking at. So we had double star pattern with an optional comma at the end, and the whole thing optional. And then we have something else which is not optional with an optional comma at the end. So this made the whole choice optional, but then both choices, both alternatives ended with this optional comma, so that got taken out, which did add extra parentheses here. So that's a bit of a complication, but overall it's a nice simplification. Now this is another pattern. Let me make it bigger. So this is another pattern that I would like to have better syntax for. Right, so this says you can have stuff like these two things in this order, separated by a comma, and you can leave out either one of them, but you can't have them in the opposite order.
Right.
And that's a very long way to say that. And at least in the railroad diagrams, it would be great to present it nicely.
Um,
No, not much we can
so
do now.
yeah, yeah.
And well, let's look at this class pattern that got changed as well. So the same thing is here. There's positional patterns with an optional trailing comma, or optional positional patterns with a non-optional trailing comma, followed by some stuff and then an optional trailing comma. So this whole choice got simplified to an optional choice, and the comma is here at the end. And
That's
I
cool.
assume this is the same thing as here, except in the opposite order, right? So you can either have positional patterns, or you can have positional patterns followed by whatever this is, or you can have both of them, but not in the other order. Right, so same.
Yeah, so positional patterns come first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if they're there, they need to be followed by this this comma. Same here. If you have items pattern and then double star pattern, then there needs to be a comma between them. And the frustrating thing is, the original docs just don't include this detail at all. They just say, you know, whatever order works, they're the same thing. You can alternate them as much as you want. So, well, this is an improvement in preciseness, but not in readability. Okay, next change this made is this del targets here. Made this whole thing optional, and that's it, which is a good optimization to make. So I think this was successful. The simplification framework, as it is, that the classes here make this really easy to make. There are of course other stuff that is not easy, but I'm happy that this one was. So this simplification is it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hope it was interesting.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And I'll continue next week. There's half of compound statements still left to be done.
Cool. Oh, and I made the change for you on the pros.
Oh, thanks. Perfect. Yeah. So this probably needs to go in the first pull request I send. So let's keep it separate for now, because what I'll do then
sure, that's fine.
is only send the generator and the top level components and leave the rest for later. But yeah, this should go in. This should go in at the same time. I think that it's a combination of eBNF and PEG, even though we don't use PEG for everything yet. That should be fine. Right.